Okay, day 94, part 3, and you're going to notice a big change. I gave Eric Braverman a break. It looks like he's tweeting, so we found him, and I still think reporters should follow up with Braverman, but Pug Winokur becomes our new Hollywood Square up here in the left-hand corner, and it's going to be DynCorp, Haiti, and me, since DynCorp is at the heart of this whole operation. And this is going to take us. There's a lot of articles going around about the 3 stages of the CIA, the Dulles years, the Bush years, and then the Clinton years. And we've mainly covered the Clinton years, but this is going to now take us, Pug Winokur is going to take us back to Enron and the Bush years and the Promise software, which goes all the way back to 1984, the Promise software scandal. So I'm still following Eric Braverman's, so it's DynCorp, Haiti, and me. We're going to just look at DynCorp in Haiti and other places around the world. They just got another contract for policing in Kosovo, by the way. So the sex trafficking is going to continue in Kosovo. But we're going to follow the money, like Braverman said, the arms, the oil, the rat lines, and then we're going to follow this thing called Promise software. Because really, this is the thing that has the tentacles into all the 30 agencies. And I'm going to explain the logic of DynCorp, and everybody says, how do they sleep at night? I'm going to explain that. And we're going to follow USAID, the vaccines that DynCorp has many contracts for. So any researchers out there, please send me DynCorp vaccine contracts as well as DynCorp policing contracts. And also anything to do with Promise software is something that you want to look at. Because DynCorp has it was about a $300 million contract for managing all 30 agencies. So I just want to give you a little bit of the rationale. Well, first, everyone says, how can Trump drain the swamp? He didn't make that clear with the metadata. The metadata is this middle solution by saying in the emails who the emails are to, who they're from, what the subject is, and so forth. So let's say we announced that Andrew McCabe sent Judge Politano a email today that the title was confession, okay, and it didn't say anything more than that, other than it was a timestamp of around 11 o'clock Pacific right now. That Andrew McCabe RE confession, sends it to Judge Napolitano. That contains a wealth of information right there. Just knowing that, we know that Andrew McCabe is probably confessing to Judge Napolitano. Now, it's called pointing the gun. It's not shooting the gun. The reason why it's called pointing the gun is you're showing the person who is the guilty party that it only takes a hair trigger for this whole thing to come apart. And it stops that person from that illegal behavior. For instance, if I said Andrew McCabe and I said quid pro quo here, to Patrick Kennedy, and it said, can I have 200 agents in Iraq so I can do whatever I'm doing in Iraq, managing traffic of some type for the counterterrorism division, versus 200 agents to go look for who killed Monica Peterson. If the subject line was Monica Peterson, that would also be very interesting. And so that's why I say the metadata is a good solution. It's draining the swamp without setting off a nuclear bomb in the swamp, because this is a nuclear bomb that wipes everybody out in Washington. So everybody's going to oppose it. And they're going to keep attacking Trump because they know it's a nuclear bomb. But Trump has an ace in the hole, because a lot of these emails went out to Israel, China, Russia, and there's going to be, I think it's going to be North Korea and one other group that hacked this system. Human server I'm talking about now. This is mainly through the carelessness of Philippe Reines that Trump can leak this type of information. So he doesn't have to leak the whole 650K. He can just say, here's, regarding Arsenal, here's an email from, or regarding Timber Sycamore is a good example, between John McCain and Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's going to be the code name is going to be in the RE, or Timber Sycamore and Zero Footprint between David Petraeus and Hillary Clinton, or between David Petraeus and Sid Blumenthal, etc., or Philippe Reines. This will tell us a lot. The without blowing up Washington. I guess that's the point. So again, I love reading this. No grand jury, no subpoenas, no court orders. This is Kallstrom, the assistant director of the FBI. Immunity to the co-conspirators. co-conspirators all in on the same interview. I mean, these are crazy things the FBI never does. Okay. So I'm going to give you the rationale that DynCorp actually uses why they can do all this stuff. They kind of consider themselves like the farmers of war, after war. So you go in with Osprey Global, with Sid Blumenthal and your CIA guy, Drumheller and General Grange, and you topple it, and they get paid their money, and then they leave. And then the police come in and they go, hey, wait a minute. We're actually making money in this control operation because we're making money off the girls, we're making money off the kids, we're making money off the organ harvesting, we're making money off of micro loan sharking, et cetera. All these different businesses that DynCorp is in all these different countries. That money coming in is actually not going into, Hillary's bank account or George Bush's bank account. It's going into the dark budget. It's coming into treasury programs that are secret treasury programs, like the 3 that I said were on that Hillary email when she deleted all the emails, and they're coming into that budget. So Pug Winokur is saying, hey, I earned this money. I made this money. Now, don't ask me how I made it. I had to use a lot of women as bait, and then I had to blackmail a lot of, generals and politicians and whatnot to gain control of the country. But I made this money. So we're going to keep this money in a side account. The same thing with the secret oil drilling in Iraq. Hey, we made this money. This is the company's money. That's why they call the CIA the company. This is the company's take. Same thing with for mining assets and so forth. So their idea is, hey, this is money set aside in the dark budget for us, that we can spend however we want. That's why you still see torture and everything else. This is a money-making operation, okay? And the money is kept in, thousands of accounts all over the world. And the Promise software is the glue that glues it all together. And Pug Winokur's company, since 1984, has had the software to glue it all together. So that's why I say Promise unlocks the whole deal. Okay, so just as a reminder, Steve Feinberg is Trump's top economic advisor. Now, Feinberg was smart. He bought it recently. Cerebus Partners bought it recently. And you can see the background, Boesky, Madoff, Milliken. So it's already not a good start. But he really should. You're going to lose trust in the government if you don't publish the metadata and just say, look, here are all the businesses we're in. We're going to flip the cards on DynCorp. We're getting out of the vaccine business. We're getting out of the sex trafficking. We're getting out of the organ harvesting. We're just going to go back to training police forces. We're going to go back to fixing jets, and we're going clean. That way, DynCorp's reputation isn't hurt, and they're going to make a lot of money from just those regular operations of maintaining all this. Just go clean. I mean, it's just the perfect time now with Trump just to go clean. Then with the dark money, budget money, you can just say, okay, it went missing. We don't know where it went. And that way you get to keep all the money. But if you keep it covert and the investigation keeps going, we're going to find the money because you're going to get the Promise software and the Palantir software. The Palantir software knows where all the assets are. It not only knows where the money is, it knows where the girls are, it knows where the women are, it knows where the terrorists are, and so forth. So it's just, everyone wants me to talk about Noyo and how we couldn't find it on the map. And somebody did find it on the map, which I think, she's a great researcher. And it's right here in this is actually a picture from it. It's this little mountaintop. And this is where your little ceremonies are held. And everybody's going to say satanic ceremonies. But the heart removals are going to happen here. And you're going to be close to Tamazo. And you're going to take a little helicopter ride just out this far, about 5 minutes. You're going to hear a big splash in the middle of the night. You're not going to know what it is. There's going to be a Loch Ness monster, but you're going to dump the body right here. And they're going to take this big swing up to Mirabile. So this is only 5 minutes out of the way, but that's the way the helicopter is going to go. It's going to be, and they're going to do these 20 at a time. The lot number is 20 at a time. I've seen so many patterns where they take 20 prisoners. 20 prisoners died of cholera. 20 prisoners died of this. 20 prisoners died of that. But it's mainly going to be prisoners, and they're going to splash down here, and you're going to find the bodies right here. And you're going to find that the U.S. State Department making all kinds of, oh, there's a storm there or something, and that's why it's cordoned off, and you got to move out of there, and because all the bodies are going to be right here, guaranteed. So, and it's going to be Dr. Guy Philippe is the person they trained to do this a little bit further north, and it was at a little town called Pignon. And now there's going to be some new guy, doing the same thing. Everyone's made the comment, Paul Farmer. Oh, I get it, a human farmer. This has been going on since 1984, yes, you're right, okay. And whoever said that in the comments, you're correct. And I've been trying to get to the story, but I just haven't got to the story yet. But yeah, so what's going to happen is the Paul Farmers of the world are going to go around the world, and they're going to train the Guy Philippes for each country, and they're going to run this operation. And it's going to be hearts, it's going to be the whole core. It's not just the heart. It's going to be livers, and you're going to find that Duke is going to be the medical center that's working, on extending the life all the time of transport of organs. Try to get the pancreas transplant going. Try to get all these different transplants. So. Okay, so again, this is the enemy. This is an enemy combatant. They call them bite-sized terrorists. Once we identify the Syrian people as the enemy, then everything is fair game. And this has been true in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen now, Syria now. As soon as we define that as an enemy combatant in the Palantir software or in the war in the war software, this is an enemy combatant, and everything is fair game. So this is also fair game. And again, I mentioned in the last video, the idea is we not only took out a bad person, we created a new life for a great person. So that's the logic. You're going to see the DEA in '73 is created, basically is split off from the CIA to compartmentalize this drug business, to compartmentalize the drug running business. And you're going to see these sex parties over and over. This is the Secret Service sex parties. This is the DEA sex parties. But it's the rationale again is, hey, we're trying to catch the bad guys. And if we don't have sex parties, we can't do it. And you're going to see the U.S. Marshal Service and the enforcement powers. This is what's been dangerous, though, with Pug Winokur recently is you've given enforcement powers to people like the IRS and the U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, with body armor and the Kevlar things and the flashbang grenades and the gas masks and the antidote, for fentanyl gas and all this stuff is so that they're going to create a shadow account. They're going to create a dark budget account or a dark money account for all these brownstone operations. These are all brownstone operations, and they're going to say, okay, that's our money. And in the Promise software is going to be charting this. The Secret Service will have a dark account. DEA, anybody who has enforcement capability that's doing asset forfeiture will have a dark money account. Okay. The guy who came closest to this, he wrote a book called Crossing the Rubicon. Michael Rupert did, and he came really close to explaining all this before they kind of took him out. Gary Webb had a big chunk of it, but he didn't have the comprehensive look at all this like Michael Rupert did. And one nice thing about the CIA and the counterterrorism division of the FBI, when they run this kind of, disparage and destroy and disrupt and then death, they're really focused on this D. They name a sniper team after you. This is it. This is the team that was named after Michael Rupert, which is going to be Team Rubicon. And this sniper group, now they're going to be different. You're always going to have different Marine and Army snipers coming in and out of this group. And then there's going to be all these great people, that are doing, he's the CIA, but you're going to have a lot of volunteers coming through. So there's a cover. It's always about an 80-20 mix or a 90-10 mix. That's why these people in these groups go, what are they talking about? But you're going to find that the Dallas police officer that was an ex-DynCorp employee was in the Dallas shooting was killed by this team. I'll just say it right now. And any place a DynCorp individual shows their face, they're in trouble. by the sniper team. And Steve Feinberger said that. If you ever show your face, you're dead. Now, I don't know what the rules are for the rest of your life. Posting a picture of your kid with Facebook, does that mean you get killed? I mean, that's what the Dallas cop did. So, and the flow is also important. DynCorp wants to get DynCorp takes guys from Iraq and Afghanistan and trains them in this way of policing. A lot of them train the police there before they ever come back to become police in the United States. That becomes the basis of the JTTF teams here in the United States. Gradually over time, they're going to get rid of all the other cops that don't have that background. And you're going to have the night teams, the prowler teams are going to be these kind of folks who have moved from being a soldier to being a DynCorp employee, training police, and then now to policemen. That's the flow. And just like the FBI, just like the infiltration of the FBI, start with the counterterrorism division, take over office by office, start in New York, then do the DC office, then do the Miami office, and then move your way across the country until you get every office infiltrated. Same exact thing that they're doing. JTTF is the same exact program. So again, I do want to. There's 3 or 4 books on this that I'll add, but 3 or 4 people have written on this Promise software and how it unlocks the thing. They call it the octopus. I think one book was written called the octopus. But this idea that tentacles are spread everywhere in all these different agencies. So the problem is, see, the thing that Gary Webb didn't have and Michael Rupert didn't have was they didn't have this. They didn't have this interactive, I can make a video and then you can send me back leads. Because all these departments have talkers. All these departments have talkers. And they're making, the FBI agents, for instance, are making videos behind a screen saying what they know. And then they're sending them, they have a hand, they have a thumb drive foot network, sneaker network, and they're all getting, put away. And every one of these has whistleblowers now that is doing that. So that's why I make incremental videos. You're going to see that this deletion that Hillary did of these 2 terabytes with the missing money, I never meant to say DynCorp had $6.5 trillion. What I am saying, though, is they are the ones who do the disbursement of the hidden budget. So let's say the hidden budget has $6.5 million in it that's hidden in all these accounts all over the world. They're the ones that disperse out money in the dark budget, okay? So they're more like the U.S. Treasury, the dark U.S. Treasury, okay? That's what I meant to say. I don't mean to say that DynCorp has $6.5 trillion. I think the money is still there. It's in accounts all over the world in these Panama Papers type accounts all over the world. But it's just the dark U.S. Treasury. DynCorp is the dark U.S. Treasury run through the Promise software and Palantir. Palantir is keeping track of the assets. So any assets of war, let's put it this way, let's say this is Vietnam and these are the shoeshine kids. These are assets of war, and they're to be farmed. So as kids, they perform begging, and then they're old enough to be sexual, and then once they are sexual, then if they have kids, then that property is owned. They're marked, and Palantir system is an enemy of the state or enemy combatant from the beginning. And this is the process, and let's say this is the father, his heart is fair game, to be used however, or can be put in the mine because Victor gets the spoils in this, and it's either black or white. And the wife can be turned into prostitution and then harvested whenever she's no longer attractive. These are spoils of war. And these are just justifications for the spoils of war. It gets people to act things out in rehearsal before they actually have to do it on the mountaintop at Noyo. So, I'm not the one saying this. Robert Boyce is the one saying it. The 650,000 emails contain child exploitation, sex crimes, perjury, obstruction of justice, money laundering, and pay to play. Okay, 26 or 40 years on the force. And here's the slow kill program again. And I'm hoping, that I get a sniper team named after me. I guess I have to write a book. But Michael Rupert's Crossing the Rubicon was the closest to unraveling this, which was he was at the heart of the Promise software and so forth before he was kind of disrupted out of existence. So I'll leave it there. I just think Mike Chernovich, sorry, on Twitter just did a FOIA for all these records because these kids made these parents made these settlements with these kids not knowing it was a government program. So once it's a government program, they have a right to go as far as they need to go with a grand jury and getting an investigation and unhooking this. So this is these parents here now are yet another way of unwinding the DynCorp dark budget. Okay, that's all for right now.